Okay, welcome to one more class on conditionals. This is another conditional. It's called third conditional. And yes, it is more complicated, unfortunately. More complicated than second conditional. Complicated means complex, difficult to understand. Yeah, complicated. And I'm afraid that this is a complicated form. There's a lot to remember. It's complex, it's difficult to understand, yeah? Difficult to understand, hard to understand. It's a hard subject, a hard topic. Difficult to use maybe, easy to understand I think, but difficult to use because there's a lot to remember. Okay, so we learnt in another class about second conditional. We learnt that this was unlikely, but it was unlikely present or maybe unlikely future, but usually unlikely present, usually. Third conditional is unlikely past. It talks about a past moment. Second conditional is often general. When I ask you, what would you do if you won £1 million? Yeah, what would you do if you won £1 million on the lottery? I mean, generally, now, what would you do if you won £1 million now? What would you do? How would you spend the money now? Okay, I'm talking generally. Third conditional is about about something in the past, an event in the past, okay? So look at these two examples. Firstly, I want you to imagine I am standing with my wife in a shop and we are looking at a new fur coat. Yeah, you remember a fur coat? A coat that is made out of animals' hair. They're sometimes very expensive. And I might say this, yeah, maybe I look at the price and it says £3,000. And I say to my wife, if it were cheaper, I would buy it. And I mean now, yeah, I'm looking at my wife and I mean now, if this were cheaper now, I would buy it. If the fur coat were cheaper. And please remember that in second conditional, we often say it were instead of it was. Some natives say if it was cheaper, they really do. Many British speakers say if it was cheaper, but if you want to sound royal, if you want to sound very formal, it's a kind of higher form of English, then you use were. It's a subjunctive form. If it were cheaper, I would buy it. I would buy the fur coat. That's second conditional. It's if and past. Were is past tense of to be. And then would and infinitive. Would buy. Okay? But maybe then a few weeks later, I am talking to a friend. And I tell the friend that I went shopping last week with my wife, but I didn't buy the fur coat that my wife wanted. And I explain why. And I say, well, you see, if it had been cheaper, yeah, in the past, it's now in the past, it's last week. If it had been cheaper, I would have bought the fur coat, yeah, because now it's 2 weeks in the future. And this is a week in the future. And this is in the past. And so it's unlikely past. So I use third conditional. And this is what third conditional looks like. It is had been, yeah, it's had and the third form. And then you've got three words. You've got would, have, and then the third form as well, which with buy is bought. Buy, bought, bought. Okay, but with some words, some verbs have three different forms, yeah, like know, knew, known. If the teacher had asked me that question, I would have known the answer. Yeah, something like that, yeah? So remember that there are three forms for some verbs. Sometimes the second and third form are the same, buy, bought, bought, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're different, like go, went, gone. They're very different. Okay, now I want to make one thing clear. We can reverse these two clauses. We can certainly say, I would buy it if it were cheaper, and we can say, I would have bought it if it had been cheaper. So we can certainly do things the other way round, and we very often do, and we will again in a second. So let me ask you a few questions first to get you